Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to take a winter garden tour of my mama's garden, affectionately known as Mimi. We have been in her garden multiple times throughout various times of the year, but we've never done a winter garden tour. And I approached Mimi yesterday. I was like, Mama, please, can I come do a winter garden tour? And she was like, sure, why not? So I absolutely love coming to my mama's garden and taking a tour because she is vastly different than I am. We only live a couple hundred yards away from one another, but she lives underneath these mature pine trees. So she is very much a dry shade garden. She has zero irrigation. So there's not one piece of automated irrigation in her garden. She either hand waters it or just allows the Lord to water it, and or she picks plants that will thrive in her dry shade spaces. To give you a little background, my mama and daddy have lived here since the late 70s, but it has really been in the last probably 12 to 15 years that she has really devoted a lot of time to her gardens. She was a teacher, she retired, and then she came and just spends tons of time in the garden. She is a force to be reckoned with. She exhausts me. She is like the little Energizer bunny, and I think that you're going to see how her efforts have paid off in her garden. So we're going to walk through, and I will also say Mimi does not mind being in the background of the camera, but she does not want to talk on camera. So that is why she has never been mic'd up before and goes through the garden. One day I hope to get her on camera, just even honestly for my own personal sake, so I can document all of the fun stories, and because she knows where every plant came from, every plant, where it came from, blah, 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 all the good things. But she does not want to be on camera, so we respect that, obviously, and she allows us to come through and look at her garden. So I hope you find this very inspirational, because I think it's really important to look at other gardens. Even if you have completely different growing conditions, you're going to find inspiration. Always and forever, you will get inspired from other people's gardens because of great things that they do. For example, you're going to notice as we go through Mama's yard is that because she is dry shade, right? So, I mean, look at all of these pine trees, y'all. Tons of pine trees. She uses a lot of containers in her garden. So she does a ton of container gardening, and she has lots of fun, whimsical art that she has found throughout all of her garden travels from different places. She's a great shopper when it comes to garden art, I tell you. So she can buy things, and she also finds things in nature and adds them to her garden, like this old gnarly stump that has moss growing on it. So you're going to notice that a lot throughout her gardens is that she really employs a lot of fun, unique, natural and man-made pieces, right, to enhance her garden. You're also going to notice that you might notice that there's lots of various little buildings around here. My daddy is very industrious, and he is forever building some sort of little building, and so that's what the deal is with that. If you remember, we did a early spring tour, and because all of these are azaleas, I mean, and they go way back. We'll see more of them later. These are the, traditional old-timey azaleas that bloom once in the spring, but are just magnificent when they are in full bloom. So that is what all the greenery is the azaleas that are gorgeous. Now, Mama also has tons of Lenten roses, hellebores. And hellebores, of course, are just those beautiful perennials, very, very hardy, that bloom in the wintertime, typically around Lent. Some are a little bit more overachievers than others. She went ahead and cleaned up her old foliage, and this one is putting out lots of buds. You'll also notice that for the most part, she does a great job she has her plants labeled. She made these cute little plant signs out of like some copper, I think, that she got from like Home Depot, and then somehow cut out the little circles. So she created those herself. So we're going to see lots of fun like I said, Lenten roses. I'm going to back up here just a second. I walked past them too much. Right here she has, and they're just dotted throughout everywhere, but you can see, so for right here, she went ahead, we've had an abundance of leaves and pine needles this year, so she had to come in and she pulled out just a little bit. So you have the old foliage, and then you can see that bright foliage right there that is coming out. It was underneath those leaves and pine needles. So she just has come in and tried to show them off a little bit. She's got an ice and roses right here that is budding out and is going to be absolutely stunning. So we're going to walk on down the driveway right here. Just fun. Like, I think my daddy may have built, my dad, like I said, my dad is very industrious. He built this cute little birdhouse for her. So you're going to see lots of fun whimsy in her garden. He is also, my dad is also a woodworker. He has a sawmill. He builds furniture. He refinished furniture for many, many, many years. And they recently had to cut down a tree because it was getting too close to a building. So this is actually the stump, well, part of the butt of the tree flipped over. And so she is using it as like a little tabletop for her little containers. So these are all various unique stone containers that she's put some little violas in there. She has an agave. She has some sempervivums, whatever you want to call them, hidden chicks. So just really fun, right? Just adding things in there throughout the garden. She even took a pair of Daddy's old boots and used those as planters as well. This is the Feather Falls grass, y'all. Is that not just, I'm telling you, it is the greatest perennial Carex. I love this thing. So Feather Falls is doing great. And then she has, I want to say this is a Bloomstruck hydrangea. So it is a Macrophylla hydrangea. Because she is so shady here, she does a lot of obviously shade tolerant hydrangeas, right? And for example, she has on this side of the driveway, these are the Tough Stuff hydrangeas. Lots of good growth here because it was challenging for her because this area is interesting. It gets a good amount, I would say 4 to 5 hours of intense hot sun, but then it's in the shade. So she was having a kind of a hard time trying to figure out exactly which hydrangea to use. She had tried a couple. Either it didn't get enough sun for the panicles or it was too much stuff for a Macrophylla. So the Tough Stuffs, they are serratas and they really are doing quite nicely. Again, lots of containers that she uses. She is a bird-friendly habitat as well, and so I gave her a bird feeder for Christmas, and the birds are just having the most fun on that as well. So this area looks vastly different in the winter than it does in the summer. It is just filled with tons of perennials in here that, you know, in the winter, a little dormant, right? She has huge hostas. I mean, massive hostas all in this bed right here. She has, of course, those nice evergreen ferns. This is a Sum and Substance hosta that is in here. And you'll also notice that as we go through the gardens, she has a lot of cast iron plants. So that has worked really, really well for her in her gardens. And so she has just a lot of those available and planted throughout her gardens as well. Moving on over here, this is a fun collection. Growing up as a kid, this was all grass, but of course that was, 46 years ago when I was born, and the trees have gotten bigger and she has lost her son. So they just decided, it's just not even worth it to try to grow grass. So they don't have any grass within their yard. They have turned it all into natural, and it just makes the most sense. But this is such a fun little area where she has put, all sorts of different containers, right? And so she's got containers, she's got her little mushrooms, she's got her wind sculptures. These are, I know somebody's going to ask because she has a ton of these. These are from Lyman Whitaker. He is an artist. I believe he is based out of Arizona, but she has collected these over many years from up in Asheville. There's an art gallery in Asheville, North Carolina, that she gets these from. So beautiful wind sculptures that she leaves out year round. But You'll notice with her pots, her containers, that she has them of different sizes. And even though the pots may be of different sizes, she uses old logs and stumps to raise them up. So it's not just all on one level. She's bringing lots of height to her garden. And even here in the wintertime, lots of fun, interest in there. She got a Fire Chief arborvitae and put it in there, and it is doing great. Same thing back here, right? So it's that same idea, using those containers, and has them on various levels to bring interest, especially here to the back of her garden. So these are all in different shades of blue back here. Notice that some have perennials in them that you can see, right? So she has lots of eucheras and eucherellas, but then she also has some pots that are seemingly empty. They're not empty. They have hostas in them. But that's okay that they're dormant for the winter. 'Tis the season, and for everything there is a season. She also has tons of leaves. So leaf litter, she uses a lot of leaf litter. She does not use mulch per se, like how we use a hardwood mulch. She just uses what she has available to her, and she is like the queen of leaf litter. And so what she'll do is, as she chops it, she'll put it out, but inevitably she'll have more that she'll need later on. So she uses, we happily let her use these old nursery pots, and so this is how she stores it. And so then when the season arrives that she needs some, she'll just come and grab them. So that's what the deal is with that. This is an area right here where this is an oak leaf hydrangea, and there goes Rosie. So Rosie is their Doberman, so off she goes. But you'll notice all of these Lenten roses in here, just tons of them. These are what we call the old-timey Lenten roses, where they naturalize. So all these have spread from seed, and she'll dig them up and she'll give them away. So she's given me some. She's taken some down to the nursery. Lots of those naturalizing hellebores. And then as we come to this flower bed, this is another fun one. This gets some sun, but not a ton. Definitely not a full sun flower bed. Notice how she uses her edging, how to define from the natural area, where the dog may play or the kids may play, the grandkids. Old logs, right? So she's brought this in to bring a nice defined border. Epimedium is a wonderful, more shade-tolerant perennial that is evergreen, right? So even in the wintertime, she has got structure here and makes a great border. She's got some yin and yang viburnums. She's got the Florida sunshines. She has a white by the gate, so camellia, as just like I do. We got these, of course, from the nursery. And so the white by the gate, and then she actually found the trellis, and I loved her trellis so much. I ordered one exactly like it. So we do have a very, very similar taste. And then the cute little weather vane right there with her rooster weather vane. But all dotted throughout her gardens, all the way in the back in the woods, there's just, azaleas that have been there. I mean, some of these are older than I am. And just all dotted throughout there, just bringing that garden out, right, into the woods for sure. And then I love this little area too, because she employs a lot of evergreen ferns. So she is a huge fan of the autumn ferns, as I am. So see, even in the wintertime, I mean, it is, right, the very, 2024 is here, right? And so she uses these because they bring such fun and interest to her garden throughout the dead of winter. Here, cast iron plants all dotted throughout, more hellebores. She just has them spread out, all out through the woods. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna move over to the other side garden. As we transition over to the side garden, this is the area when we were here in the spring. This is that whole bank of azaleas that was in full bloom in all of their glory, and just spectacular. So in the wintertime, they are the home of tons of little birds. I can see they're actually moving through there. Like the plant, if you look at the plant, you can actually see it moving. And those are the little birds that take refuge in the wintertime, and really, I guess, year round in there. So lots of cover for her sweet little songbirds. Again, you're going to see Lenten roses all throughout her flower beds. And talking about, you know, massive pine trees, these pine trees are wider than I am. I mean, just massive. I've always loved this little bed, this little island bed. It has been here as long as I can remember. She's got rhododendrons in here. She has got some sweet little, like there's a maidenhair fern right here that is doing well for the end of, you know, for the dead of winter right here. But lots of different plants in here. And she, you know, obviously she's going to repeat a good number. She has, like I said, tons of hellebores. She's got various different types of cast iron plants. Like, look at this one. Look at that beautiful one. Oh my goodness. I do not see a name tag on this one. I don't know if this is Milky Way, but just such neat color to it with those spots on it. So just repeating those same, even though it may be the same type of plant, right? It may be a different cultivar, a different variety. So different types of autumn ferns, different types of hellebores, and so forth and so on. Again, she is the queen of using natural elements to come in and just make things fun and different. These are literally just old logs that they have set into the ground upright, created a little bit of a bed around it with some little baby hellebores in there, and then another wind sculpture in there. Sometimes in the summer, she will take pots of, you know, like smaller containers and put them on top of the logs. But yeah, even without, in the dead of winter, it looks great. Lots and lots and lots of hydrangeas, whether they are the various oak leaves that she has. Tons of macs in here because this is definitely an area that lends itself for it, and camellias. So she and I have both gotten on the camellia kick together. So we are trying to implement more and more camellias into our garden. If a container breaks, no worries. She'll just flip it upside down so it can become home to like a toad or a little critter. So yeah, so don't freak out too much when something breaks. It's just another opportunity for something fun. She has got this bed as well is full of hydrangeas, hellebores, brunnera, various ferns in here, and these azaleas too are about older than I am and just full of blooms, tons of different colors in here. And so the springtime, it is just absolutely alive. If you remember, we were in the forest pansy bed last week and I was sharing with you my arborvitae fern. Look at how her arborvitae ferns have just grown and developed. Y'all, this pine tree is probably 2.5 to 3 feet wide, just straight across. It is huge, and all the way around it she has got those arborvitae ferns. Just, they will and I don't remember how long she's had these here. It has been a while. So this is not like an invasive plant, but it is clearly very, very happy here at the base of this pine tree. And of course the arborvitae ferns are they're not technically a fern, they're a member of the spike moss family, but they look like a fern, and they're called arborvitae ferns because they'll take on these brown coppery colors in the winter, and then in the summer, spring, it is a bright green. So just, I mean, a beautiful specimen right there of that spike moss, that arborvitae fern. Throughout, these are hellebores. These are different. They look very different maybe than the type of hellebore that you were used to, but they are hellebores throughout here. Fun. You can see yet again another feather falls, lots of autumn ferns. Of course, she has her Charleston basket boy. She has a fun log limb, and she's using it to hang her wind chime on. And then as we go through, you've heard me talk about the oak leaf hydrangea that Mama has, that she has had for I remember taking pictures of my Emily in front of this in the springtime, and it was a decent size then, probably maybe like, I don't know, 5 feet tall. Emily's 19, so that gives you an idea of like how long this hydrangea has been here. I am 5'2", 5'3", used to be 5'3", I think I'm shrinking. And this thing is huge. I mean, it is massive. So when you have those old traditional oak leaf hydrangeas, give them room, y'all. They're gonna get big. So when she is in all of her glory, she is stunning. But you'll see here underneath more of those, what we call just the old-timey traditional hellebores that naturalize. So these have just all spread from seed and going around throughout all of her containers, right? It looks empty, but it's not. And she has her little tag on there that is a June hosta is in there. And so she has lots and lots of containers because she does deal with voles. Voles are a big problem for her, so she employs the containers to use a lot. Edgeworthia. She has got 2 stunning Edgeworthias right here. Edgeworthia, of course, is that fantastic shrub that gives you wonderful late winter interest because these are the flower buds, and what they're going to do is they're going to open up and they'll turn like a really sweet kind of a yellow orange that are, all of these will be like little trumpet flowers in here, and the fragrance is absolutely divine. So this is 2 gorgeous Edgeworthias that she has right here. Just creates little pockets, right? So here's like a little mini bed within the big bed. She has one again around the pine tree. This time she used stone that came from the property and she edged it out. More, see, another feather falls. We love that. And I am sure that there's a eucharella that is in there as well. And there might even be a hosta that is in. Talking about her dealing with voles in her garden because they just absolutely destroy it. So she'll use the containers, and then she uses these little cages from the Vole King, which are like wire mesh bags. And so you take your plant and you put the plant inside the bag, and then you bury it all, and then you leave a little bit on the outside so that the voles cannot get to it, so that the roots can grow through. So even if the voles were to eat some of those smaller roots that go through the bag, they can't get to the heart of the plant. So this is a great way to protect your plants, especially when you're planting new ones. So she has one here, here, and then up. So she has them throughout, and then if you use, your pine needles, your mulch, your compost, whatever it is, to kind of disguise those edges of it where it's sticking out, it's not very noticeable. But it allows you to have plants in your garden without being annihilated by the voles. So that is an option, Vole King, and so you can check them out. That you can order from them online. Also, Daddy built Mama this little gazebo. I remember exactly. This would have been 14 years ago because we actually came out here. He was building it, and we were like, Daddy, we're having another baby. That was when we were pregnant with Jackson. And so he built this gazebo. There was actually, this is Carolina jasmine that is on here. I mean, there's only 2 plants, y'all. So 2 plants. These are close to 14 years old, 13, 14 years old. Planted. One is down here at this base, and then you can see one is on the other pole. And they have just completely taken over this gazebo. There was a weather vane up at the tippy top. I'm not sure if it's still there, if they were able to get it out. But yeah, this is just a fun little place to go. In the spring, early summer, it smells divine because the jasmine is in full bloom and is just spectacular. But you can see what she did is she started it out and used some chicken wire, some fence paneling, whatever you want to call that, to get it going. And then you can see how much it has just gone up and it's just doing great. Mama obviously loves using big pops of color. So you're going to see bold colors in her garden, just like the red chairs, the little yellow, this is like, I think, a masonry bee little hive that she is very, very aware of her sweet pollinators and beneficial insects. just gorgeous color, right? Even in the dead of winter. Bright chartreuse colors right here. This is another fun bed that I just adore. Right now, it looks pretty empty, but there are tons of hostas in here. And you can see too that because the voles seem to like the hostas the most, if you kind of glance through, you'll be able to see she probably has maybe 10 hostas that are in those Vole King bags in here just to protect them. And again, just about everything is labeled with her little signs. She has got, look at this, how fun. This was an auger off of a grain machine that Daddy put in for her, and then that's a little birdhouse that he built for her. So lots of fun, a different kind of whimsy in here. She is, like I said, the queen of some yard art. This is stained glass from a gallery in Colombia, I believe. It's called One-Eared Cow Pottery, and they have got beautiful stained glass that is both for the home and the garden. Just really cool. And another oak leaf, right? Tons of hostas are in here, and she's got all her bags in there. She's got some, iris. She has got different carexes in here. And then, of course, the famous Savannah urn is right here. This was one of her very first unique stone pieces that she got. We put it in here for her, and it is absolutely filled with tons of beautiful shade perennials. So when this thing is in all of its glory, it is spectacular. It is gorgeous. So remember, don't be afraid. Think outside the box. When you're looking at your containers, put those perennials in there. Yes, it's good. And again, she has a problem. She has voles. She needs to solve that problem. They can't get to it in her containers. So there you go. As we move out closer to, we call it the walnut field, because this field out here is full of walnut trees that my dad planted, and so you get more sun. Here we have, she has her David Austin rose. I gave her a Poet's Wife for Mother's Day. I gave her the unique stone and the rose. So this is a Poet's Wife, from David Austin, because yellow is her favorite rose. So that is a beautiful yellow rose and is doing quite nicely. But as we move out further, it gets more sun. So this area, if she's gonna have sun, this is where she's going to put it. And I'm telling you what, y'all, these beds are just jam-packed with tons of perennials. This is a fig tree that she took a cutting from her mama's yard and planted this one, I don't even know how many years ago. And so then I have a cutting off of it, and I have a fig tree near the chicken coop. So this is Grandmama Betty's figs that produce figs, and their Doberman Rosie absolutely loves, like she'll eat them straight off the tree. Mimi and Poppy don't get very many because Rosie eats them all. But just in these beds, lots of fun interest. Let's kind of tiptoe and notice that she has little paths right here. So again, she has stone from the property, and then we'll create a little path that we can walk through so you're not actually walking in her flower beds. But as we have a different perspective here, going into the field so that you can see all of just kind of the whole big picture here. Lots of grasses, dianthus, sedums, echinacea, butterfly bushes, Amsonia. I mean, tons of just variations of sun-loving plants that she has. Still bringing in some stumpery back there all throughout here, and is just a fantastic job. Lots of the stained glass, the blown glass, lots of that within her gardens. But I just adore coming to Mama's garden and seeing all of her fun, because she just thinks outside the box, which I love. And so she is a tough gardener. She does not baby her plants. They're, it's kind of like you're either going to make it or you're not. And she is not afraid to move plants. She will move them in a skinny minute if somebody's not working. And she's like, okay, well, we're just going to move you and figure out somewhere else for you to go. So she is definitely a master gardener, and all definitions and all aspects of that. And I am thoroughly blessed, and I know that I am blessed to have her as my mama and as a gardening mentor. We have a lot of fun together in the garden. We can get into some trouble together into the garden. And, you know, I think as most gardeners, you have those gardening buddies that, you know, they get you into trouble, but it's all in a good kind of trouble, you know? So that's Mimi and I. So we can be quite dangerous in the garden together. But I hope you have found this fun and informative, and just knowing that you can have tons of winter interest in your garden, even if it's a shade garden, even if it's dry and you have no irrigation whatsoever. Just that time and energy that you put into your garden, and that gardening is a lifelong event. It is not a static sport. It is not a static hobby. We are constantly out in our gardens. And to show you that this is a mature garden, right? I mean, she has been working this garden. Some of these pieces have been in here for 40 years, right? Those azaleas. And other pieces are brand new. But she's constantly adding and tweaking what is working. She finds a new plant, where can I put it? That kind of thing. So just, you know, give yourself grace when you're gardening. Don't think you're going to get this kind of garden overnight. I am still working my little honey to get halfway where she is in her garden. So it's a lot of fun. Visit those other gardens so that you can be inspired. I don't have a ton of dry shade. I hardly have any dry shade whatsoever, but I can take nuggets from her garden and implement them into mine. So as always, hope you found this fun, informative, and inspirational. Y'all have a fantastic day. Thank you, Mama, for letting me come to your garden again. See y'all next time. Bye, friends.